Okay, I'm just going to give everyone a few minutes to log in before we get started. We have 1 minute. So if everybody just hangs tight, we'll get started in just a few seconds. Okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to our 38th Town Hall. As always, I'm your host, Rajani, so let's get started. All right, first up, we have two new core contributors starting with us. So please give a welcome to Robin and Simon, who've joined us on the marketing team and the design team. Reach out, say hello. Yeah. And next, we have Nabil with an update from janitors. Nabil?
Yep. So I thought I'd give a quick update on how things are going. So we're currently trying to scope out a couple things that have not really popped up last minute, but the scope of some of the work is larger than what we thought. So which is resulting in some delays for V1. So we have the minimum viable data sync work that's being done at the moment, and we're trying to understand what that means to integrate that into V1 and whether or not the timelines will drastically increase or whether it's realistic to have that. We have the multi-account work that has happened that ended up having ripple effects on other parts of the application. We have backwards compatibility, which is a hot topic that there's a discussed post about it that Eric started, and so there's some time tomorrow on the status calendar for anyone who's interested in discussing that, for us to go through it and make a decision on what we think about backwards compatibility. Because of the fact that the scope is taking a little bit longer than, the scope isn't completely finally defined of exactly what V1 is going to be. We have Oscar who's stepping in to kind of help out, especially with Roman out and with Igor out as well. Thankfully he's stepping in. So that then moves us into the kind of regular updates that we have on the Swarm side. So if you click on the next slide, you can see here that the majority of work is the majority of work that's the delta between today and this time 2 weeks ago. One is that primarily it's the multi-account support that I mentioned earlier. Some of the onboarding work and the new profile work is also taking slightly longer than we anticipated. So this is looking like our code freeze is probably going to get pushed from end of this month to potentially sometime in August with the exact date to be finalized. So that's why it's so important for us to kind of finalize the scope before we move on. You can see on the pie chart on the next slide that the kind of velocity of work is continuing to go. It's not like work has stopped, but that pie chart kind of just keeps getting bigger. So now the green is larger than the other parts compared to where we were 2 weeks ago, but the scope of work is more than we had originally anticipated. So it's work underway, and hopefully we'll have better updates in 2 weeks as to a definitive timeline and more clarity on exactly what V1 scope will look like. But that's it from the janitors.
Cool, thanks, Nabil. All right, next we jump into token economics with Corey. Corey?
Hello, hello. Sorry for the rain in the background if you can hear it. Not a terrible amount going on with token economics. You can we should be finishing up the blog article for the dApp store this week and publishing that. That'll be the next in the token economics series. Last week we had a impromptu brainstorm session on token economics around the dApp store, and especially around coming together on appropriate values for the ceiling value, as well as like how that can be changed and the governance around that. And I think there's quite a bit of insights as to how the contract should be, how the contract itself should function, and whether or not we'll need an audit based on these economics conversations. So that was actually pretty nice to have brainstorm around one of our future use cases that then led to actionable change that we need to make within the contract so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. If anyone else would like to have those types of conversations, just schedule them on a SWORM meeting or send me an email and we can figure it out. Also, Barry wrote another piece outside of the token economics series for S&T use cases around properly assessing a discount rate calculation in the crypto space. So a discount rate is how you value future money flows. So money you would get in the future. How you can value that currently based on where that money comes from and what asset you're talking about. So for crypto, how you calculate that rate on how to discount future money isn't as good as how you would use it in regular assets like fiat currencies, US dollars, and so on and so forth, because we don't have the data to properly look at it, or maybe it just acts differently. So Barry wrote a thought piece on that, and that'll be going out through various channels. I think this week. Barry, Johnny, do you have any more information on that if you're here?
Yeah, so that's going out on as a thought leadership piece on an investment blog. I forget the exact name, but it's just getting the work outside of the immediate crypto space and, in front of potential investors and people outside of our industry. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if we get any feedback from the traditional economics viewpoint on what our viewpoints are on assessing a discount rate in the crypto space. So I look forward to that. That's pretty much it for token economics. And I'll continue on with security updates. Let's see, not a lot going on here. We finally finished the Trail of Bits audit for the sticker market. There's just a few minor adjustments in terms of adding a few events. We had a long back and forth figuring out how to properly re-architect the contract so that it can be upgradable. For those that don't know, upgrading contracts, which we plan to do for all of our use cases, is not an easy thing to do. So how you structure the smart contract, the use case, and the smart contracts that facilitate that use case is very, very, very important so that they can be upgradable later when changes need to be made. So there was a back and forth on the way in which we did that to make sure that it's done properly so that when we would like to upgrade sticker market to be more fully featured, we can do that flawlessly. So that's wrapping up. We just have some events we'd like to show off so that we can monitor these things nicely and make changes. Let's see. Carrie wrote a awesome guide on getting a YubiKey. So this is more like organizational security. From a core contributor standpoint, this is something that I first came on, I kind of talked about, and that was that if there is no castle, what do you defend concept? And because we are a decentralized organization, I can't really control what our core contributors do with their own devices, what they have software in there. We don't want to do that, especially as we open up to a larger and larger contributor base, being from outside contributors and so forth. So what we end up doing is having to go with what's called a zero trust model and basically just make sure we understand the gateways to the things we hold sacred. And for us, that's our Google accounts, our GitHub, and the password sharing. So in order to do that, I would like to implement enforcing YubiKeys or some hardware token to get access to those things, so that things like SIM swapping, password leaks, things like that aren't a big deal. So Carrie wrote an awesome guide on how to get a YubiKey and get started with those 3 services. Please go get one, and because soon it'll be mandatory. You won't be able to access some of these services without one. I also wrote a small step-by-step guide on how to remove your phone number from your Google account, because SIM swapping is such a prevalent issue, not only mostly in crypto, but for everything else. The best way to protect yourself from that is just to remove your Google account depending on your phone whatsoever. So I wrote a quick little guide on how to do that within your Google for us, and I recommend everyone go out and do that, and then follow the steps in the end to properly secure your account so it can't be compromised. If you have any issues, go to the security-help desk channel in Status. I can add that to the slide later, or email security@status.com, status.im, or me, or people ops, or anybody else. And that's pretty much it.
Cool. Thanks, Corey. All right, now let's jump into a Keycard update with Guy Louis.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So this is a really quick update concerning Keycard and about iOS 13, actually, because Apple has released iOS 13 last month. It's in public beta for now, and the official release is planned for September. We knew that iOS 13 opened several NFC capabilities, NFC being the contactless technology we use with the Keycard. So actually, Andrea, Dmitry, and Michele have worked to make sure that these new capabilities would allow us to use Keycard with iOS. And so here it is. This has been confirmed. We now have a functional proof of concept that you can see on your screen right now. What it does is pretty simple, but that's what we needed to prove that it will work. The iPhone is forging a transaction and sending the hash of this transaction to Keycard over NFC. And the Keycard signs this hash of the transaction and send it back to the phone. So this is great news because it means that we will be able to integrate Keycard within the iOS release of Status, and for all our partner projects that are integrating Keycard, it also opens to them this possibility. So great work, and Michele has started to work on a Swift SDK that we provide to iOS developers to integrate Keycard. Dean has proposed some help to Michele about that, so stay tuned about this. Yeah, and that's it for this update.
Wow, cool update. Thanks. Next, we have an update, and it's a demo with Richard on Pellets.
Yeah.
Richard, do you need my screen?
No.
Okay.
So yeah, hey everyone. We are going to see a demo of the buyer and seller interaction on Teller Network. So please click on the video. Oh, what happened? Yeah. So first, the buyer needs to acquire a license. This is done by using some SNT that is staked in the license contract. After this transaction is mine, the seller can immediately publish an offer. For that, he needs to provide a location, which is an optional value. And then he needs to set the nickname as well as the status contact code or ENS username. The next step is to specify which assets is going to be sold and the payment method accepted, whether it is cash, bank transfer, etc. An arbitrator needs to be selected. The local fiat currency that is going to be used for the transaction. Finally, you need to specify the percentage rate that you want to earn, whether it is positive or negative, in case you want to sell the asset as a bigger price than the current asset price. After this transaction is mine, you can see here the offer that was just published in the seller profile with all the details. Okay, So then buyers should be able to buy from this offer. They are able to see the list of offers and select the seller, specify their nickname as well as the contact code. And after signing this message, and they can specify how much of the cryptocurrency they want to buy. So this creates an escrow, which the sellers needs to fund in order to continue the whole transaction. You can see here that the seller is notified that a new escrow was created, and the buyer can see the details from the transaction, as well as a warning in case the price is too different from the current asset price. The seller needs to proceed to the profile to see the escrow that was just created. And you can see here that the status is waiting for the escrow to be funded. They proceed to fund it by sending the asset that is selected. Yeah, a transaction is created here. You just need to wait a few seconds. And then the escrow will be in a funded status. The buyer needs to mark the transaction as paid. In this case, paid means that they send the cash or the bank transfer, etc. Yeah, the seller is notified, and they are able to release the funds to the buyer. They could open a dispute here, but this is just the happy path, so the disputes are not being shown. So they release the funds by doing another transaction. And yeah, the buyer just received the asset and is able to rate the transaction. The seller can see here that the status of the trade is done, and that's it. This is the basic buyer and seller flow.
Wow, thanks so much. That was a really cool demo. Okay, jumping up next, we have updates, Swarm updates. And our first update, I believe, is with Anna on core improvements. Is that right, Anna?
Yes, correct.
Perfect.
I also might need help from Andrea if he's in, but let's see. So you can see that in core improvements, we merged quite a few big PRs. So one is about partition topic and topic negotiation. So it should improve group and one-to-one chats. So the time to sync the messages there. We're also working on moving protocol to status go. And this part, probably Andrea can also add a couple of words about if he's in right now. So I will skip it for now. And if Andrea is in, then he will give more details. If not, I will do a very brief update on it. About performance improvements, about 10 PRs that touching different animations in different part of application were merged. So to make it kind of so that it looks smoother and some actions in particular screens happen faster. We also very close to make a pull request for reproducible Android builds. Thanks to Pedro, most of again, all known issues with non-determinism in Android builds are fixed. And the plan is to create the PR for reproducible Android builds. We also managed to paint UI on large screens. So it's for mobile screens with with large screens, sorry, I don't know, iPads, any other tablet. And the next step would be to enable this two-pane UI for just a desktop. Yes, that's it. Andre, if you're in, maybe you can talk about status Go. Okay, probably.
Okay.
Oh, okay, great. I will mute.
I could unmute. So as probably you know already, we're moving some parts of the protocol to status Go, some parts of the app. So we started from installations and filters, which we've been merged and moved to status Go. And so we already see some improvements in terms of performance, especially by moving the filters. We were able to, instead of polling through Web3, we're able to use a signal for receiving messages. And that led to, I believe, 40% performance improvement on joining a new chat. So as you join a new chat, many messages are received, if there are many messages, of course. And, like now is much faster by just the fact that we're not polling. We haven't done the full performance improvement yet, but, it probably saved quite a bit. We will continue probably moving other parts to status Go, which will help us to isolate the parts of the protocol so that it's more visible to everyone when it's changing. And also, we probably will give to some performance improvement, but we will be quantifying that probably in the coming weeks. That's it for me.
Yeah, so it was update from core improvements.
Cool. Thanks, guys. All right, now let's jump into Core UI.
Yep, that's me today.
Hey, Rachel.
Hey, so I'm getting caught up after being out on vacation last week, but I understand that one exciting change we have from the Core UI team is that ENS username resolution for chat has been merged. So that means that on mobile, you can now, once you have an ENS name registered, set it as your default display name for use within chat. So you can try that out on the nightly. We also are closing like a few little fixes for stickers and Sticker Market, and are close to having Sticker Market ready for testing on mainnet. The current thinking is that we're going to try to push an interim release before V1 code freeze that will introduce stickers and maybe a few other fixes and changes, primarily for stickers though. Vitaly has been making steady progress on his onboarding PR. So some of the setup screens are now ready to merge, namely the screen in which you get to choose which random name you're going to take when you onboard to status for the first time. Progress on the new 6-digit PIN code UI has also been steady. And then multi-account, as Nabil mentioned up front, there's still a bit of discussion happening around how we're going to handle migration strategy there, and we're having a phone call about that tomorrow, as it's currently blocking the team a bit what we're going to do about bringing old Whisper accounts to new multi-account clients, if at all. So that discussion is in progress and hope to unblock that this week and get things moving there shortly. Last week, we also mentioned that Andre had completed work on the multiple account wallet UI. And so I think Andre is going to give us a demo of that on the next slide. And we can move there. Yeah, thanks, Andre.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, so it's a small demo of Accounts Explorer. And can we play it? Yeah, so it's just a UI for it's currently implemented for current status account. So it's currently not possible yet to add accounts or import accounts, but just to give you a picture how it will work. So it's possible to add new accounts here and discover accounts, and yeah, so you can open some specific account and see the assets, collectibles, and history. And also it will be possible to swipe wallets or accounts, but here we have only one. So yeah, that's it. Small demo. Thank you.
Great, thanks guys. All right, now let's jump over to Status Teller Network with Richard.
Hello. So the progress for Pellets Network. We finished the work on the upgradability for the smart contracts to simplify the process of rolling out new versions of the DApp. Additionally, now the sellers need to get approved by arbitrators they choose. We created a new arbitrator selection UI for these sellers, as well as the required smart contract changes. And product of all this work, we did a round of testing to guarantee that the DApp is stable, which resulted in some minor bug fixes and UI improvement. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Cool, thanks for the update. Next up, we have Sticker Market with Julian.
Hey, so yeah, a couple extra details about Sticker Market. So as Corey said, the contract audit has been performed and there are a couple of things to be fixed. It's pretty much done, and then there will be another round of like extra audit just to make sure we don't introduce new issues. And once this will be done, then the main idea is to ship the Sticker Market on mainnet and to have this version released before the public release of Salus. And the main extra thing that we still have to do before this release is implement a new way to interact with the distributed storage layer, mainly IPFS, and to abstract away from Infura, because currently we are kind of depending directly on Infura, and we want to escape from this. So yeah, that's it for Sticker Market.
Cool, thanks for the update. And all right, that was our last update. So now let's wrap up and jump into Q&A. And we had just one question today submitted from Status Townhall Questions. And what's the ETA for launch? And is there a web browser version in the works? Does anybody want to take this?
Yeah, I can take it. Sorry, I can take it. There's no web version in the works other than the work that Yuri's doing on trying to bring Whisper and basically Status to the web, but that's more of a side project than active work. An ETA for launch, as I said, I mean, I think we discussed this earlier. We're still trying to we may need to rein in some of the scope and cut certain things that we wanted versus nice to have versus really wanted, so we can get something code free sometime in August. So which means the security quarter will come after it, but I think it's really important for us to get a V1 at the door. So I'm hoping that we'll have more clarity on an exact timeline and exact scope by the next town hall.
Thanks, Nabil. It looks like, sorry, Oscar, we skipped the town hall slide. Did you want to give a quick update on protocol?
Sure. I think I made a mistake in the slides. Could you update the slide and go back to number 21?
Yes, 1 second. Hold on. Okay.
Great.
There you go.
Thanks so much.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so just a super brief update. I've been away on vacation the last 2 weeks, but it's been some really solid progress. Adam has been working on the Status Console client, refactoring and kind of clarifying into a single library for messaging that encapsulates encryption, transport, and so on. And what this does is that it means that the protocol logic is sort of more centralized in one specific place, and this will eventually be its own library, which will make it a lot easier to reason about the protocol as its own independent thing, as opposed to having to know details and status react and status go and so on. So some great work there. Dean has also been working on deadlifting client work. What ideas that you sort of have these, talked about MVDS briefly before, but ideas that you have clients for these that we can sort of specify using protobufs and so on. And then you have the semantics of these clients sort of as its own protocol. So if you want to have one-on-one chat, that's one example of a sort of client thing, but maybe somebody attributed talk would be the same thing. And it will allow multiple clients to implement implement these sort of protocols so they can talk to each other. So we aren't reliant on just a single app anymore. And also, as Andrea mentioned previously, ongoing work on moving protocol into status Go. And Corey also put up some draft specifications of trust establishment and account generation, which is work that's come out of the sort of multi-accounts form and so on. So that's also really exciting because we're starting to get a closer to a fuller picture of the protocol as a whole. And you can check this out in the specs repo if you're interested in following along. That's it for me. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Oscar. All right. Were there any last additional questions that people had for the town hall before we wrap up? No? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Oh, thanks everyone for a wonderful town hall, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Thanks everyone for the demos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks.